Good morning, how are you this morning? It's beautiful Monday morning in gorgeous Brisbane, Australia. My name's Linda and I'm a trauma recovery coach. And this morning I want to talk to you to give you language around and understanding around 6 areas of our heart that we need to work with. Okay, so I'm so sorry about that. I always forget to turn my phone off. How was your weekend? If you're here for the replay, do a hashtag replay. And if you're here now, say g'day. And let's just grab the list today. So I was at gym this morning and I was processing a few things, because one of the things we do need to do, whether it's simply sitting on our lounge and moving our arms backwards and forwards like this, you obviously can't see my other arm, in order that it increases our heart rate and gets more oxygen, or if you're further down the track and you are exercising, then we need to be able to feel what's happening in our heart too. Okay? So as children, we saw adults as being in control. So they're in control of our life, whether we got food, shelter, whether we were loved, whether we weren't, whether we were nurtured, whether we're not. The decisions they made impacted our life. So it's quite obvious for us to see them as in control. And we look to them for answers even when we're afraid. So if one parent was abusive in secret and the other wasn't, openly, there was something going on, then we've learnt to keep secrets, okay? And when you're an adult, that can be a good thing, because people can tell me stuff and I don't tell a soul. But it's not a good thing, because we are meant to be in relationship with each other, connecting with each other. And it's in the connection, in the relationship, that we as adults who've come through a childhood of trauma actually experience recovery really, really well. So, and when we couldn't voice that we needed to ask questions, when we needed answers that we didn't know, which as a child, we're like, well, that's quite obvious that a child would ask questions and get answers. But oftentimes in our families, a lot of the language that we learnt from them was implied. So we learn the rules of our family without anything ever having been spoken. So one of the things that get me at a heart level was that, one, I was taught to keep secrets. Morning, Louise! I was taught to keep secrets, and to ask questions was frowned upon. And all of this stuff is implied. Okay, so there's nothing that's overtly said, you can't ask questions, blah, blah, blah. So I became a really good student because I liked learning. I wanted answers, and you have every right to have answers as well. So then we grow up into adulthood and society says, well, you should have all the answers by now. And we look around us and we go, well, yeah, depending on what era we've grown up in, remember. So in my era, it was you go to work, so you can have a job, then you grow up, save your money, get married, leave home, get married, whichever way it worked. Have a kid, and that's the cycle of life. That's all we ever knew. And in my grandmother's generation, they didn't leave home until they got married, or were getting married. Women then weren't allowed to have their own bank accounts, and so much more. And then now in my children's age, it's quite normal for kids these days to have had a part-time job, saved up their money, and they go overseas now, especially from Australia, because we can go to England and travel. That's what they do. They base themselves in England and they'll travel. So it's very different. Each generation is very different. So what happens for us when we've come through trauma is we've watched what happens outwardly, but there's no connection, no communication inwardly. So we go and do all these things, but meanwhile we're left feeling empty. We're left feeling like, what's life about? What do I do? What happens next? And until we go looking for those answers, we don't have answers, and we end up really it can be very distressing on the inside, not knowing that we don't have answers and not knowing that we don't even have language around what happened to us to frame the questions to get the answers, okay? And once we begin to identify this at a heart level, it takes a lot of the pressure off internally, a lot of the pressure that we hide from other people, because they don't, if they haven't been through trauma, they don't understand, and it's not their fault. We would never blame them, but we're already heightened in our awareness that they don't understand, and so I can't talk to you and let you know what's going on. And I can guarantee that when you sit down and talk to somebody who's been through this, experience-wise, it makes the world of difference. I sit in a group of peers, and it just makes all the difference, because everybody understands exactly what's happened, and they know that you're in recovery and that you want to live a better life every single day. So there's a whole world of difference. So what do we do when internally it feels like everything's out of control, but externally it looks to the world like everything is under control? Our life looks perfect. I mean, you only have to think of people who feel suicidal to understand that concept. They won't tell you because they don't feel that you are strong enough or that you would understand, but it's not the truth. And this is what we've got to come to understand ourselves, is it's not the truth. There are people who, even if they haven't been through what we've been through, they still will have a compassionate heart. Okay? That's the first thing. The next thing is, because we've got these two different existences, realities, is we can feel that we don't belong. And that's not the truth either. We do belong. And what the inside of us is saying is we have to unpack the layer after layer after layer until we really do feel that we belong. Okay, so instead of having attachment, different types of attachment issues to work through, we actually are working towards having a secure attachment within ourselves. So a secure connection within ourselves, and then we don't look to other people as having more wisdom for our lives. We don't look to other people to have answers. We become fully adult, and we know that if we need answers, we can go and seek them. We will build into our lives friendships where we know we can go and be vulnerable and say, look, I don't have the answer to this. And one of the things that we need to overcome too is a thought process that we have to have all the answers, because we don't. Okay, we're allowed to say, I don't know. And see, all of these things come in as part of reparenting as well, because we weren't taught that it was okay to not know. It was okay to ask questions. It's okay to be vulnerable and say, I'm going through this process of recovery and going, I can do this. Because now, like, if you come into group, whether you're greatest cheer squad, because we need that connection. Without the connection, we don't feel comfortable to connect within ourselves, which might sound totally bizarre, but think about, or to those who have a secure connection, it might sound, how does that happen? But it happens because we didn't get the connection when we were younger. We didn't have the tribe around us that showed us connection. Okay? And look, honestly, we don't blame the people that have gone before us. My poor mum was so disconnected, but she was a single mum and had to raise 2 kids until my stepfather came along on her own. Okay? And then it wasn't until the end of her life that she could finally tell me that she had all this stuff on the inside in regards to her mum and how her mum had treated her. And, you know, even today, like, it's over 20 years since mum died, but it's like, I get it. All these wounds that haven't been spoken about for generations get passed on until we learn to reclaim our voice, relearn to make the outside and the inside of us equal, and we become secure within ourselves that we can take risks, we can step out, we can look for answers, we can ask for what we need, and people are allowed to say no, I can't help you, but we can also keep asking for what we need and asking, I don't understand what I need right now, but let's work it through. Okay? Thanks for joining in today. It's lovely to be with you. Have the most gorgeous Monday if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, and the most wonderful evening if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And remember to say g'day to somebody. Blessings and dreams, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.